Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a new Cardfight Vanguard video for you guys today, and today we are talking about the newest episode of the anime. This is season 2, episode 9. This episode finishes up our fight, our Destined Showdown, and actually sets us into what's probably going to be the next arc to finish off this season. And boy, some things happened. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump in and let's get into the episode. So season 2, episode 9, it kicks off kind of sort of where last episode ended. So last episode ended, we were on turn 7. Well, turn 7 had just finished of Future Hikari versus Present Hikari. Future Hikari had just used her divine skill, had gone off, and Present Hikari was left with one card in hand going into her turn. The episode starts with us getting some flashbacks of Akina and Hikari, and basically it's Akina from being really, really young to, you know, when the accident first happened, to a couple years later, to a year later, and it's always Akina doing things for Hikari. Akina basically, instead of hanging out with friends, is spending time with Hikari in the hospital. Akina is waking up early to make breakfast for Hikari, and Hikari is just worried about him taking care of himself. Even in the last flashback, he starts a part-time job because he thinks he wants to save money because he's thinking about, you know, college and her future and whatnot, and it's always for her. And the whole time you see Hikari getting frustrated because he's giving up everything to take care of her, and she thinks it's only because of the accident. But we go to the Hikaris, and President Hikari basically says, you know, the same thing that she said the last episode: your turn won't come again. We get to see the field, so we can get a state of where the game is left off on. It goes into President Hikari's turn, and this girl top decks the absolute most perfect card. So the last card left in her hand, we saw at the end of the last episode, was Distorted Bane, which is the card she needs to enact her win condition. And then she top decks a copy of Liel Odium, which is, you know, the copy of her Vanguard, so she performs a Persona Ride. She Persona Rides. Now, Persona Ride, 10k continuous 10k of the front row for the turn, and she has to draw an additional card, so now she has an additional card on top of that. She then activates Distorted Bane. For anybody that doesn't remember what Distorted Bane does, I know we talked about it a lot in the last couple of my videos, but you can play it if you have a Vanguard with Lielen's card name. When you play it, you may soul charge one, and then you put this card face up into your regress gauge, and then it has an auto skill. When this card is put into your regress gauge, you draw a card, you choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets 10,000 power until end of turn. That also plays into Liel's skill, because Liel has a continuous skill that for every Distorted Bane regress gauge, your front row rear guards get plus 5k, so now that's 2, so now her entire front row just has plus 10k for the turn. President Hikari then calls a Blaze Chimera and uses its skill. So remember, she Persona Road, drew a card, then she played Distorted Bane, drew another card, so now she has 2 cards in hand. She plays a Blaze Chimera, which is one of the cards she drew, and then she uses a Blaze Chimera skill, which is when it's called, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Lielen's card name, counterblast 1, look the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 list card from among them, call to rear guard, shuffle the deck. And she ends up calling an Anachronous Dragon, which is her main, you know, support grade 3. So now she has 2 of them in the front row because she had 1 from the last episode. She moves to her battle phase. She attacks with a Cronus Dragon and uses its skill. Auto rearguard when this unit attacks. If you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard with Lielen's card name, this unit gets 5,000 power. If you have 3 or more regress gauge, you can Energy Blast 2, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. She ends up retiring Future Hikari's Sequence Wizard, which was the main beater that she was using on her last turn. Future Hikari doesn't guard, it takes 1 damage. The damage going into this turn, I should have mentioned, was 3 to 5, with President Hikari at 5, Future Hikari at 3. But now it's 4 to 5. President Hikari attacks with Liel Odium, activates Liel Odium's skill. Auto Vanguard when this unit attacks Soul Blast 1, choose a card from your rear guard or your hand, put it face up into your regress gauge. If you put a card, this unit gains triple drive. So she ends up putting her Cronus Dragon that attacked into her regress gauge because it has a skill from the regress gauge for the following turn, but we'll see. You'll see that in a second. So now she has triple drive. Future Hikari guards with a perfect guard. President Hikari gets a critical on her 3rd drive check and gives both effects to her other Cronus Dragon that hasn't attacked yet. And then she activates Liel Odium's divine skill. Liel Odium's divine skill is auto Vanguard at the end of the battle. This unit attacked. If you have 5 or more regress gauges, discard 2 cards, and you gain an additional turn. Until the end of your additional turn, this unit gets drive -1, and the ride phase and main phase are not performed during the additional turn. You basically go straight into your next battle phase. But then President Hikari attacks with the Anachronous Dragon that has the critical, Future Hikari guards with another perfect guard. So now the end of this turn, it's 4-5 with Future Hikari still in the lead, but Future Hikari only has 4 cards left in hand and a whole nother round of attacks. Now we go to turn 9, which is President Hikari's additional turn. President Hikari, they make a big thing to say it. President Hikari stands and draws, and then goes straight into the battle phase. President Hikari activates the skill of her Anachronous Dragon that she just put into the regress gauge. Its skill from the regress gauge is auto gauge zone. At the beginning of your battle phase, if this card is in your regress gauge, you can counterblast 1, choose a card from your drop, put it face up as a regress gauge, and if you put a card, call this card to rear guard. So she ends up putting Steam Burner Aminatana from her drop into the regress gauge and calls the Anachronous Dragon out. So now she has a full front row again. So I just double checked the skill of Aminatana. When it's called to rearguard or put it to the regress, it gets to give something 5k. So she could have gave another card plus 5k. It doesn't say where it's put from into the regress gauge, as long as it's put into the regress gauge. So they don't have her pick something, but there's 5k power that went somewhere there. President Hikari straight away attacks with Liel Odium, putting a card from hand into the regress gauge, giving triple drive. But remember, Liel Odium has -1 drive, so now she still gets a twin drive. Future Hikari doesn't guard this attack, and President Hikari gets a draw trigger and a heal trigger, and she gives the power of the draw trigger to one Anachronous Dragon and the heal trigger to the other Anachronous Dragon. Future Hikari takes 1 damage, so now it's 5-5. Well, 5-4 the other way, because President Hikari has healed. President Hikari then attacks with one of the Anachronous Dragons. Future Hikari guards with a heal trigger and a front trigger, which puts her up to 48. President Hikari then attacks with the other Anachronous Dragon, and Future Hikari plays a blitz order called Heavenly Bright. This blitz order is you play this with an Energy Blast 2, you look at the top card of your deck, and you call it to the Guardian Circle, or put it to the top of the deck. If you call the card, the called card gets 10,000 shield into the end of that battle. We get some back and forth. Hikari's basically saying that she's not going to get anything off the top, that she would need a heal trigger to be able to stack the heal trigger, but she's already guarded with a bunch of heals. She used up a bunch of perfect cards, so there's nothing left. But she top decks her most important card, which ends up being Liel Immorta. So she guards with Liel Immorta from the top of the deck after hitting Hikari with the same line that Akina said to her in the previous season. Even though it's just a glimmer of hope, a miracle will descend upon those who reach out their hands. And she activates Liel Immorta's defensive skill, which is when this unit is put into the Guardian Circle, discard a card from hand, which she had 1 card left, and put 2 cards from your bind zone to the bottom of your deck. Choose one of your units with faded 1 in its card name, and it cannot be hit until the end of that battle. So she manages to survive the turn, but she has no cards in hand. Hikari spazzes out. Everybody's like, the game's not over because she has no offense. President Hikari has like 6 cards in hand, 5 cards in hand. I think it was 5. But we see what happens. We go into turn 10. The damage at this point is 4-5, like I said, with President Hikari in the lead, and Future Hikari kind of goes off on President Hikari, basically saying that she just doesn't get how Akina feels, that neither did she. Future Hikari saying that she didn't understand him either, but she realized that him as a person, he just cares about everybody, not just Hikari. That when it came to himself, when it came to Hikari, when it came to Suho, he wanted to save everybody. And that President Hikari herself never bothered to ask Akina how he felt about the whole thing. He never felt that she was a burden. He just wanted to make sure his sister was okay. That he was happy to take care of her because he enjoys taking care of everyone. And that she needs to stop acting the way she is because her brother's there. She can talk to her brother, whereas Future Hikari has lost her brother and no longer has that opportunity. But now we go into the final turn, turn 10. Future Hikari draws and calls the crit trigger. It's Shivalmia, yeah, and goes straight into her battle phase. She attacks with Salivar Dragon. President Hikari doesn't guard, takes 1 damage. Future Hikari then attacks with Liel Immorta. I'm assuming that she used Immorta's skill. They don't have her announce it. Instead, we get this insane fight scene between Liel Immorta and Liel Odium. They're flying around, they're fighting, they end up clashing, and you see the power of 18, because you know the boost from the 0 against a 28k guard, and on her twin drive, Future Hikari does get a critical and manages to push through the guard, and we actually see it play out as she hits, straight punches Liel Odium. So President Hikari takes 2 damage, and does not get a trigger. The game ends there. The final damage is 6-5 with future Hikari winning. And this is where we get a massive amount of story. Everybody is all excited. You know, the Fated Ones have won. The Destined Showdown is over. Some of them can't believe that President Hikari lost. But now we move on to the next step. So Sybilt announces that it's over, and now it's time to grant the wishes of the Fated Ones. So they're all supposed to get wishes for winning. So we actually get a scene of all of the Fated Ones and all of the Destined Ones and all of the Design Force gather, leaving their cards and gather into this sphere in the middle. And boom, there's the Destined One symbol. Now remember that Sybilt kind of has control here. As soon as all the Design Force is gathered, Jinky is like now, and Masanori presses a button that looks almost like a detonator. And we see that the symbol gets like pixelated and all messed up. And we get a flashback of Gabrielius, Jinky, and Masanori basically planning out, talking about how they realized that the actual outcome of the Destined Showdown didn't matter at all. It was all about the fights, all about the Design Force. And that if they didn't find a way to mess with it, Sybil was going to get his way regardless. So it was actually Gui that came up with an idea, because Gui got to see Sybilt's power firsthand when Sybilt tried to use it on Jinky, and realized that if they can counteract the wavelengths, almost like sound versus sound, they could cancel it out. And they did that, and it allowed Gabrielius to take back control of the Design Force and his summoning method, which he was going to use to summon his actual body from Cray. So he was getting ready to do the summoning, and we get the big reveal. They've been hinting at it this entire time that somebody from the original Fated Clash, or somebody that was there for the Fated Clash, actually has Sybil inside them and just doesn't know. And it turns out it was future Hikari the whole time. So Sybil now takes over future Hikari's body and then speed blitzes the Design Force, grabs the Design Force and basically shoves it into her own body. And then from her body out comes Sybil in this giant energy like dragon form. And now she is manifest and is talking to everybody. We get another big lore dump where basically Gabrielius figures it out that the accident that had happened was basically Sybilt coming to the planet, and Sybilt has been inside Hikari this entire time. That the reason Hikari was sick wasn't because of an injury, it was because Sybilt was feeding off of her life force. And that when Akina used Raziel's power on her, it actually eliminated Sybilt from Hikari's body. But future Hikari from a different timeline where Akina never made the wish still had Sybilt inside of her. So when future Hikari came to the present, she brought Sybilt with her. So this all happened because future Hikari came back from the future. Now Sybilt is all powerful, all gassed up, and says that she's going to take back her power, and it's all because of Now. And she takes over Now's body and turns into this absolute gorgeous form of her Now. And then it turns out that hanging on of Now's bag, she's had this the entire series, we've seen it, is a card in what looked like a plastic sleeve, like a top loader, it looked like, or it was glass. She literally reaches out her hand, the bag floats up to her hand, she takes the card and shatters the glass, and you see it's a blank, all black card. And this is where Sybil explains, mind you, Sybil's in Now's body now, that Sybil has been planning to come to Earth for a really long time. Living as a spirit for so long, Sybil knew how to separate his spirit from his power. So he sent his power to Earth in the form of a card, because apparently, you know, cards are the easiest way to connect Cray to Earth, and then traveled as a spirit, and that was where the accident happened, and that's how he ended up inside of Hikari. Afterwards, he needed to get his power back, and somehow he ended up separated from his power. Now ended up with the card that contains his power, and he ended up inside of Hikari. Now that he has the card, he can now, you know, fully have all of his power. And I guess next episode is going to be a big flashback, and we're going to see what actually happened with the accident. And it turned out that Kuon, Suo, Akina, Hikari, Mikoto, and Now were all there on that camping trip when the accident happened. So it's going to be a big storyline episode next episode. So it's probably not going to be a fight. I don't know if I'm going to cover the episode next week, or I might cover it the following week when we have another fight to go into. But this season has gotten really, really good. The twists and turns for Divinez have been bananas, and I'm so interested to see what Sybil's going to actually get as a card. It's obviously going to be a card that we're going to end up having released. It's probably going to have an alternate win condition. Most of the main bad guys in Cardfight Vanguard have always had an alternate win condition, and I would love to see it because the last one we had was technically Griffogila, and I love that card. So I'm excited to see what's next. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. I want to know what you guys thought this episode. I thought this episode was absolute fire. This one plus the last one combined, we had a great long ass fight and a really good setup for the rest of the season. If you guys want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. If you guys want to see me play Cardfight Vanguard live, you can either watch me here or twitch.tv/Zafikel. I stream Cardfight Vanguard at least once a week. This week I did two streams because there were some cards I was really excited about. But that is it for me, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.